I didn't want to make a slideshow for this video, so I'm just going to use gaming footage. This whole indie equals good, corporate equals bad binary is a fairy tale. It is a comforting myth, one that we tell ourselves because we are, as a culture, constitutionally addicted to the underdog story. The scrappy outsider versus the established agent, David and Goliath, the garage startup disrupting the industry. It is emotionally satisfying, but also empirically bankrupt. And the moment you look at the actual history of art, gaming, animation, music, whatever, the logic just dissolves completely. It doesn't bend nor strain, it just simply dissolves. And today I'm going to dissolve this for you. So we're going to begin with a question here. Why does the word indie carry so much moral weight? In no other industry does independence function as a credence signal. Nobody celebrates independent manufacturing plants. Nobody writes passionate Reddit posts defending independent trucking companies. Nobody accuses a logistics firm of selling out when they accept a contract with the large distributor. Because in those industries, independence is simply a descriptor. It tells you something about the ownership structure of the firm. It tells you nothing about the quality of the outputs. But in entertainment, games, animation, music, film, whatever, independence has been alchemized into virtue. The independent creator is presumed to have something the corporate creator does not. Authenticity, integrity, vision, soul is my favorite buzzword out of all of them. I will tell you what they actually have: rent, utilities, grocery costs. Next week, this is what I'm going to call this phenomenon of just indie glazing, because that's what it is. It's the practice of substituting a work's origin story for a genuine evaluation of its merits. It is using the financing structure as a proxy for quality because evaluating quality is hard and knowing the origin story takes less effort. It is intellectual laziness with an aesthetic costume on, and it produces two specific pathologies that are just destroying creative discourse. First, work produced inside corporate structures gets systematically undervalued regardless of its actual merit. And two, work with the correct origin story gets graded on a curve of sorts, where budget limitations are charm, where pacing problems are just speed bumps, and amateur execution becomes raw authenticity. These are not critical frameworks. This is just the aesthetic version of a protection racket. God. Right? I'm going to list off some shows for you guys. The Wire, right? Broadcast television. HBO. One of the most critically acclaimed dramatic works in the history of the medium. Nobody qualifies their praise of The Wire with, well, for a network show. It stands without the qualifier. Snowfall. FX, John Singleton's portrait of Black Los Angeles and the crack epidemic. Emotionally authentic, culturally specific, genuinely great television. FX is owned by Disney, the most corporatized entertainment entity on the planet. Disney money didn't dilute it. Reservation Dogs, Sterling Harjo and Taika Waititi. A writer's room composed entirely of indigenous writers. The first American series written and directed entirely by indigenous people. Landmark television by every measure. It won the Peabody Award. It won Independent Spirit Awards, 180 critics' year-end best lists. It ran on FX, which is also owned by Disney. It won 2 Independent Spirit Awards while running on a Disney network. Read that sentence again, guys. It won 2 Independent Spirit Awards while running on a Disney network. The institution, created specifically to recognize independence from major studio infrastructure, gave its award to a Disney-owned network show. Either the awards just mean nothing, or the term itself, indie, means nothing. I'll let you choose. Everything, everywhere, all at once, all right? A $25 million budget, A24 backing, made by the Daniels, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, who built their careers directing music videos and commercials, working in industry structures their entire professional lives. One of the most formerly inventive films of the decade. And A24 is not indie. A24 is a boutique major that has so successfully performed the aesthetics of independence that audiences now use the brand as a synonym for artistic integrity. That is a marketing achievement. Okay? It's not a structural one. Let's go. The DCAU, Batman the Animated Series, Justice League, Batman Beyond, Warner Brothers, DC Comics. This is corporate superhero IP from top to bottom. Paul Dini and Bruce Timm working inside one of the most recognizable commercial franchises on Earth and producing what is, by general critical consensus, the definitive Batman interpretation. Better than most of the films. Gargoyles, Disney, Greg Weisman, extracted Shakespearean tragedy, genuine serialized continuity, moral complexity, one of the most diverse casts in animation out of the most corporate animation studio in existence. Transformers Beast Wars, a Hasbro toy commercial legally required to sell plastic robots to children. It somehow produced genuine character deaths, serialized continuity, and philosophical questions about predestination and free will on a show about transforming dinosaurs and transforming Optimus Prime, or dinosaur Optimus Prime. Who cares? The pattern is the same every time. The corporate infrastructure, did it dilute the work? No, it funded it. But perhaps the most instructive case is not a single work, it is a founding partnership that just split and gave us a controlled experiment in exactly the question that I am asking you people. id Software, John Carmack and John Romero, two of the most influential figures in the history of video games. Romero leaves, he starts Iron Storm, he has full creative control, his name is in the marketing. John Romero is about to make you his bitch. No corporate interference, this is pure indie auteur vision. The result is Daikatana, one of the most legendary development disasters in gaming history. 4 years, it was independent, completely unchained, and it was an abject disaster. Carmack stays, he sells to Bethesda, he gives up independence, he takes the corporate deal, and Carmack, said explicitly why. Being independent meant that he was spending more time on publishing contracts and HR than engine code. The thing that independence supposedly protects, creative focus, technical vision, the work, was being destroyed by the fact that they were independent. The Bethesda acquisition meant that somebody else handles the contracts. Someone else does the HR. Carmack does his job to write engine code. And the result is Doom 2016, the revival of the boomer shooter genre, one of the best reboots ever made. A combat loop so well designed there's probably 15 video essays on YouTube about it. The same studio, the same founding partnership, one chose independence, the other one got the deal. Romero made Daikatana and Carmack made Doom 2016. And then we have Keiji Inafune, right? Mega Man. He leaves Capcom. He makes a Kickstarter. $4 million specifically from fans wanting him free from the corporate constraints. He has full creative control. It is the indie liberation narrative in its purest form. He makes Mighty Number 9. Mighty Number 9 was not a good game. Meanwhile, Mega Man 11 came out under Capcom without Inafune, and it's genuinely good. So the indie version of the vision provided the disappointments, and the corporate structure produced a better legacy. Let's go with another one. We have the inverse, right? DMA Design, Lemmings, Body Harvest. Take-Two acquires them, rebrands them Rockstar North. They make GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, 4, 5, Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 specifically has a 60-hour runtime with a pace that actively resists commercial gaming conventions. It is uncompromising in ways that should not be possible inside a publisher relationship. It costed over $500 million to make. You cannot make Red Dead Redemption 2 independently. The budget is the vision. The resources are not a compromise of the artistic statement. They are a prerequisite for it. Disney funded Miyazaki. Not metaphorically, literally. If I remember correctly, it was not only 10% of the actual film's budget, but Disney also holding North American distribution rights to the Studio Ghibli catalog. Nausicaa, Laputa, Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Porco Rosso, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle. The entire golden era of Ghibli reaching through Western audiences happened through a Disney deal. The most celebrated, artistically uncompromising, beloved animation catalog in human history, the thing that indie animation creators cite as one of their foundational inspirations, reached its global audience because of Disney money. And Miyazaki's artistic integrity survived it completely intact because he negotiated correctly. When Miramax attempted to edit Princess Mononoke for Western audiences, the response was a literal katana delivered to the office with a note that says no cuts. That happened inside a Disney deal. The lesson isn't that corporate money is good, okay? I'm not a boots licker. The lesson is that it's neutral. It's a resource. The presence of money doesn't automatically eliminate the creative vision of a work. What matters is if the artist understands what they are signing and has the leverage to protect the work within the structure. Independence is not protection. Knowing what you are signing is protection. So why does this myth persist? Why do so many people glaze indie games for the fact that they are distributed like an indie game or distributed like an indie game? Because it was never about the work, guys. It was about the audience. I liked this before it was popular is a more powerful identity claim than I like this because it was good. The origin story is an accessory. It tells other people something about your taste, your discovery, your cultural positioning. The moment the thing becomes widely distributed or widely funded or widely known, the accessory loses its exclusivity and therefore its value to the person wearing it. The work did not change, but the audience's ability to use it changed. Which means that every "you're not indie anymore" conversation is really just someone saying, I cannot use this to signal my taste anymore, dressed up as a principled aesthetic position. It is just cowardice dressed as principle. And of course, the selective application. Nobody calls Toby Fox not indie. Undertale has sold millions of copies. He has composed for the most corporate IP in the world, Pokemon. Deltarune is free. Or, well, Chapter 1 and 2 are free. He is universally beloved. Team Cherry, 3 people. Hollow Knight sold 15 million copies. Silksong merchandise. It's still on the shrine. Nobody writes a post about how Team Cherry is an indie anymore. But some other studio takes a publishing deal and suddenly it's a moral crisis. You are indie as long as people want to claim you. The second there is any other reason to be disappointed, a controversial design decision, a bad launch, a sale to a publisher that people just don't like, suddenly the independence becomes relevant. It's a retroactive disqualification tool with zero analytical context. Of course, it's selling out when we dislike the result. We call it scaling up when the result is Halo or Toy Story or Reservation Dogs. The acquisition is identical. The mechanism is identical. The corporate structure is identical. The only variable is whether you liked what came out on the other end. And if your critical framework produces different structural conclusions from identical structures based purely on your output preference, your framework isn't doing any work. You are just describing your taste in the most complicated way possible. Here is what I'm going to ask you to do instead. This is a call to action of sorts. Watch the thing. Read the thing, for Christ's sake. Play the thing. Then tell me specifically what you think about it. Tell me that the pacing is off. Tell me that the writing is weak. Tell me that the mechanics do not cohere. Tell me that you just simply did not connect with it. These are all valid positions. I implore you to take these positions. I watched the show The Amazing Digital Circus and whatnot. It's a very popular show on the internet. I did not like it. That's a complete sentence. I don't need to locate Glitch Productions on an organizational chart to justify my opinion. I watched it and then formed a view based on the actual content. That is what criticism is supposed to be. This whole indie glaze just doesn't protect small creators. It doesn't preserve artistic integrity. It doesn't hold corporations accountable. It just replaces criticism with mythology. And mythology is not a substitute for having eyes and a brain and the willingness to use both. Stop pocket watching. Please. Why do we hate a motherfucker for having money? Just evaluate the work. All right, man, I'm done here. Subscribe. Peace. I'm out.